Hi, welcome to another mentor meeting. Jake Porter and Zach Luther.
Hi.
We're here to talk about the trauma-informed practices artifact that I have created here.
Awesome.
So a few things that we do with this is the headings here: reflect on your understanding, classroom strategies, and self-care practices. Because a lot of what the module was talking about was you kind of take home the trauma that your kids bring to you and dealing with that and how to not let that affect your view on the world, make you overly pessimistic or feel like, you can't really help them because there's so much trauma coming into you. So,
Right.
uh, first topic, reflect on your understanding. It says, after learning about the impact of trauma on students, how has your understanding of their behavior and learning challenges evolved? So, for me, the the trauma that I learned about is I'm already an empath, but I've tried to be more empathetic to kids,
Hmm.
like try to understand. We get some difficult kids, and like it's not, I don't feel like kids are inherently just bad. They're
No.
not just coming here and like, I'm gonna mess up Mr. Luther's class today.
Right. It's almost me and Mr. Porter, we have a student right now who's like in and out of foster homes. And a lot of people may think because she has so much stuff on the outside that she brings like kind of anger in
Hmm.
here and she feels like everyone's out to get her.
Yeah.
Um, but if you actually took the time and understood like how her everyday life, every hour by hour at like outside school, you start actually being really, sympathizing towards her.
Yeah.
And I think from the special education side, we see that a lot more because we're able to have those conversations. It's actually getting the other teachers and the other staff members kind of seeing that as well,
Yeah.
because that's where things, you know, everything's good with that student when you're with her, but it's
Hmm.
not so good everywhere else. So to get everyone on the same page is important.
Yeah. The strategies tab, it talks about something that I like to do, and this is something I've discussed with the teachers about her, is creating a safe place because a lot of these kids do not have trusted adults and safe places in their lives.
Hmm.
So, like Miss Kay and I had talked about that with her. She had been initially trying to build that relationship where this is a safe place. You can be yourself, you can talk, you can,
Hmm.
not have to be
Hmm.
scared or
Right.
on guard so much.
Yeah. Another classroom strategy with the safe place is also like a safe area within the
Hmm.
classroom as well.
Calm
So
down
it's a
corner.
calm down corner or just like a safe area. I know in my experience, like, and I could be wrong, but a lot of my supervisors or facilitators have pushed the issues in years past of like a very comfortable, like seat or calming area.
Hmm.
And that can do good, that can do some bad as well because other people see that area as maybe a sleep area,
Yeah.
or even the student, they just want to use that area all the time
Hmm.
instead of using that when they're actually maybe going through something or in crisis mode.
They don't want to fight over it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they get like very possessive over that certain area.
Hmm.
What we've seen though too is we've had some extreme traumas where they've brought in like an object that they really care about. And so to protect that object and get other students and staff to understand that that object is might be the only thing that they could carry with them.
Yeah.
Um, that also goes in the same kind of category as a strategy for those trauma students.
I think we try to build that classroom culture is another thing that they talked about. Like the kids ask me all the time, like, what is this? Why is she doing this? And
Right.
I'm like, guys, you don't understand what she's going through.
That's
Okay,
the
it's not
ticket.
like a conscious, like, I don't like you, so I'm gonna be mean. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it's like an inability to regulate. So the things that we do, things we put in place to help her feel safe,
Right.
help her regulate.
Right. And it might take that student a little more time,
Hmm.
because school's the last thing on their mind when they leave this place.
Yeah.
They have a lot of other things they think about. But it's also getting staff and have to get staff on the same page too, make sure they understand.
Build the culture. Yeah. So
Yep.
everybody understands it's not coddling, it's like
No doubt.
This is how she feels safe.
No doubt.
And we talked a little bit about, I should touch on relationship building is something that's like the foundation of what I've been doing with my teaching, is that my kids that I build relationships with, I find will listen to me more and not like be overtly defiant because they know that like I have their best interest in mind and I've already built that relationship to where they feel like I'm an advocate for them.
Right.
So they aren't, like, oh, Mr. Porter, whatever, like they actually kind of care about my opinion, thoughts.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, and the last part here talks about self-care practices. So strategies, they want us to identify strategies that I can incorporate into my routine to manage the emotional demands of teaching and supporting students with trauma. So really for me, what it comes down to is just having a consistent routine, taking care of myself because I want to be the best me when I come here. But I've had days where like, I eat right, I didn't sleep right, and it
Sure.
is much more difficult for me to have the mental space
Of
to
course.
take that on for
Of
kids.
course. Of course. Especially like on the special education side. Um, I can reflect back on my moods is like if I had like a big time IEP meeting like that week, maybe lawyers involved or stuff like that. Like I've caught myself in the past of, my classroom energy wasn't really all there,
Mm-hmm.
as I was kind of focused and making sure I had everything like in the back of my head that I was crossing out all the I's or crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's for
Yeah.
this IEP. And then it's like as soon as that IEP is done, I come back to class and it's like, oh, I love this class,
Yeah.
It's like, so
Yeah.
it's taking it step by step and day by day and trying to compartmentalize and organize what you have to do on your caseload side, what you have to do on your classroom management side,
Mhm.
what you have to do on your own personal health side.
Yeah.
So that's really good stuff.
Awesome. Okay, so a few mentor questions for you. We
Yeah.
talked about the trauma-informed practices. Which do you find are most applicable to your teaching style in your classroom environment, like relationship building and creating a safe environment, things like that?
Yeah. Uh, I think it all starts with making sure that, I mean, you got to read up on your students before they come in, to know their past experiences, to read their psych reports, like to understand their past trauma because they may have a different view of their past trauma as well. Um, and of course, those students that actually have that big time trauma, I'm not saying all the time, like there is trauma there and they probably go through those things, but throughout that, to deal with that trauma might be sometimes could get manipulative,
Mm-hmm.
not in like in a bad way, but it's understanding, um, like some students need that structure. They need to know exactly what's going on at
Yeah.
all times. So it's always good to have that structure because that's good for everybody to have.
The
Um,
manipulative you're talking about is kind of a defense mechanism.
of
I feel like
course,
Elijah is kind of that way. And
of
that's why he
course,
kind of connives the way that he does, is because that's how he's kept himself safe.
right. They've done a very, they've gone through their life of making sure that that doesn't happen again,
Mm-hmm.
and it may just look to others as like defiant,
Yeah.
but you have to kind of teach them that like and staff like this is what they went through, like this is what's going on, this is what we're trying to fix.
Yeah.
So another probably good strategy is to, we do social contracts here and like the classroom expectations is to constantly kind of repeat those classroom expectations maybe once a week or before, maybe tackle one of those right before class starts in the first 5 minutes before you start your bell ringer or something
Yeah.
like that. So it's the constantly not like on them individually, but making sure as a classroom everyone's on the same page.
Yeah. I like to kind of set them up. I did that yesterday with Miss Wright. We got them all kind of established on the expectations, and um, I've had success with that with like Aaliyah.
Uh-huh.
If she if you leave her to her own devices, she's probably gonna do
Right.
whatever, right? But
Oh.
if you really like, hey, like, let's get this going, put her on a direction, help her out.
If you build
She'll
a
get going.
yeah, a lot of these students, if you build a good conversation, has nothing to do academics first, and then you get academics going on the back end, they're more likely to start it.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And finally, what self-care strategies do you incorporate to deal with the stress of processing traumatized students?
What a great question. What a great question. Mr. Porter knows this, but my job previously was in a very, very I don't want to say unsafe, but my job required a lot with a lot of emotionally disturbed students at one point in time. And that was a lot. I used to go home and, didn't really want to talk to anybody. I was just
Yeah.
exhausted throughout the day. And then I had more paperwork on end, and it just seemed like everything was just snowballing and snowballing with paperwork. I think exercise is probably very, very good, very important.
Mhm.
Sleep's obviously very, very important, but in the sped world, I mean, sometimes you catch yourself just typing away, doing paperwork late at night. That's just sometimes that can happen, but um, you know, you gotta find a way to separate. You gotta find a way to not take your work home with you.
Mhm.
I mean, I know you don't have enough hours in the day necessarily sometimes to
Yeah.
to do it all at work, but if you're able to take a step back and just know that maybe plan out that some days, after work, I'm not doing any paperwork that day,
Yeah.
but the next day I know that I have like
Mhm.
to try to plan
Break it
out
out.
and like maybe plan out things that people you care about the most and make sure like you guys are just up on the upfront of, hey, we're not like, you're not going to look at your phone because it's probably something with work.
Yeah.
You are not going to talk about work
Do
for
not
today,
disturb.
right? You're going to have moments where you're going to have to just, hey, I'm for at least tonight, there's no work. We're not talking about work, taking a break from it.
Your social battery is a real thing.
It's a real
And
thing.
when you have to deal with this, like, oh my gosh, like this happened to you, this really happened. You have to process that this kid that's not even 18 years old has been through more than most people go through in their entire life. That's a
Right.
lot every day to take home.
Right.
So
It's
I
a lot.
agree.
It's a lot. During that time, I had just just got married and things like that. And she would just tell me up front, like, hey, like she started to know when the days were bad.
Mhm.
She knew right away, like she could tell by my body language and everything that something happened at school today. And I was like, yeah, so yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
so and so did this and it was bad. But to communicate and to have a good communicator as a partner is very important. So that's it.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.